Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my review of the New Balance Fresh Foam Recovery Slide. So yeah, of course this is a recovery slide which is made for wearing after like a workout, or if after you play a basketball game or something like that. You want something extremely comfortable for your feet. This is kind of like what you get, right? So as far as the price goes, the price is actually pretty dang good. So it retails for only $45, which is a really nice price. You know what I mean? Like usually slides go for like 50, 60, 70 bucks, right? So the React X Rejuvenate is like 70 bucks. The Hoka slide is 60 bucks, you know what I mean? So $45 is actually a very, very good price, and they're using fresh foam, right? Fresh foam is actually extremely comfortable, or from, the shoes that I've tried, has a lot of compression. It's extremely soft. So they're using fresh foam, and we'll have to see on if it's really comfortable, right? If you guys do want to cop it, try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get this slide, it does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box. But let's get it started off with the outsole, right? So we do have like oval, like circular shapes, right? Going throughout the entire outsole, and it does kind of like, circle out on itself just a tiny bit. Of course, it's just foam, however, you know what I mean? So for the overall grip, obviously traction isn't important in slides, but you also don't want to be sliding around all over the place. But it is foam, and foam usually has really good grip on, pretty much any surface. So yeah, it has good grip. You're not going to be sliding around, but obviously at the expense of durability, right? The grooves, I guess they're not super shallow. You know what I mean? Actually, it's kind of thick. So it doesn't feel like it'll be terrible for durability, but it doesn't have rubber, you know what I mean? So for example, some slides have a full-on rubber outsole, or also some companies, they have it where it's actually like targeted, especially like, only in the forefoot or only here in the heel as well, for like more, highway areas. And obviously that'll be better for durability, if you're gonna be wearing it outside. I actually wore these outside a good amount as well, walking my dogs, taking it to the gym as well. And yeah, with the foam, it's not going to be durable, and I wish, all slides would have at least a little bit of rubber so you can improve the durability. I see a lot of people at the gym, obviously on the basketball court, where they actually, bring slides and wear the slides and then change into their actual hoop shoes. Their slides are screwed up, guys. Like there's all sorts of holes on the bottom of this the sole, So yeah, again, I wish they would, but they didn't here in this slide. And now moving on to the cushioning setup, right? So is this a very comfortable slide? Not really. It is comfortable, however. You know what I mean? It is comfortable. First of all, I'm not that heavy. You know what I mean? So I'm not putting that much force onto the actual foam. So if you're heavier, like upwards of 200 pounds, I'm sure you'll feel it a lot more than me. But for me, I feel like I'm pretty average weight, and it wasn't super comfortable. And also comparing to all the other slides that I've tested, it's also definitely not as comfortable as those, right? So first of all, the step-in comfort and underfoot cushion. You can see here in the heel, we have this kind of like pad almost, and it's fresh foam, right? And it's pure unadulterated organic fresh foam that's exposed here in the heel. And then the rest of the foam is actually just EVA, right? So it says it's an injection molded EVA midsole, and I'm guessing it might actually just be fresh foam here in the heel. I'm not 100% sure. They're not actually specifying that. But either way, I'll tell you guys how it feels. So here in the heel, it's actually kind of soft, you know what I mean? But it's not like marshmallow, like walking on a cloud soft, you know what I mean? So for example, the Shark Slide 3, by the way, this shoe is $35, but anyways, it does have a drop-in midsole, and it's just so soft, you know what I mean? It's just extremely comfortable for, right underneath your foot. You can feel the squishiness of the foam, right? So this slide, as well as Aaron Gordon's slide, this is the AG Whale 2 by 361. They are using a drop-in midsole for this setup as well. And it's just also extremely soft, and it, goes into the category of it feels like you're walking on a cloud, you know what I mean? Same thing, almost same thing with, these slides as well, you know what I mean? Like the React X Rejuvenate as well as the Infinity Mule. These are also pretty soft, but they are a lot less than these two slides, like the Shark Slide and this one. But these are still extremely comfortable. I would say the Fresh Foam Recovery Slide is on par with the Infinity Mule, but this is still a little bit softer, right? And also they are saying for the Fresh Foam Slide that it has a massage footbed. which is pretty interesting. We basically just have these nubs. It reminds me of rice, you know? It gives good grip though, you know what I mean? And it feels pretty, like I can't really feel it when I have socks on, but as far as like just walking barefoot, it feels pretty nice. It kind of massages my foot a little bit, but the Infinity Mule takes it to another level. I mean, you have deeper ridges right over here. You can see that, right? The deeper ridges massage my foot a little bit better, and also the footbed is a little bit softer than the Fresh Foam in the heel. The rest of the footbed, like here in the midfoot and forefoot, is not as soft, and there's not as much compression, which kind of sucks, you know what I mean? But I guess for $45, it's not bad comparing to all the other slides that I mentioned that are like 50, 60 bucks. But like I said, the Shark Slide 3 is like 35 bucks, you know? So yeah, it's still comfortable though. I would say it's more comfortable than Crocs. Crocs are extremely uncomfortable for me. You know what I mean? They're just like the OG Crocs, where it's just not great for the footbed. You know, it's pretty stiff. It doesn't feel amazing for underfoot cushion. So it has more compression than that. But comparing to all the other slides that I just mentioned, but also this being a recovery slide, I would think you would want a little bit more compression, something a little bit more soft, you know, for the footbed. And if you're looking for that category of I want to feel like I'm walking on a pillow or like a marshmallow or walking on a cloud and something extremely soft underfoot, then this is not the best option, right? But if you want something kind of soft still and still kind of comfortable, then I guess this is a better option, right? As far as the kind of upper goes, we do have a little bit more of the EVA foam coming up here into the midfoot area. Of course, we have the New Balance logo here on the lateral and medial sides of the slide. I do like how it feels though. You know, it's pretty open-toed, but it doesn't feel super thin. It's super cheap, but it's also really thin right here. You know what I mean? For example, comparing it to the Hokas, these are also really thin, but it feels really cheap. Look at this, very, very flimsy and cheap. But the Fresh Foam Recovery Slide, it feels a little bit thicker, but also still comfortable, you know what I mean? So nice little kind of like detail there, I guess. And moving on to the fit, so I went up half a size, and I am a half size, you know what I mean? So I went up half a size for this slide. It runs a little bit long, but I don't mind that all too much because I like my slides to run just a tiny bit long or just a tiny bit big, you know? I don't understand how, like, you know, especially in Birks too, you know what I mean? I see people wearing Birks and their heel is literally hanging out or just like hang off the side or the end of the shoe a little bit. And also in slides, some people have their heel like right there. I'm like, isn't that a little uncomfortable? Don't you want a little bit of space? Of course, that's just subjective. And yeah, I like to have it a little bit big. So if you want a pretty snug fit, probably don't go down half a size. If you're in the half size range, I would probably suggest going up half a size. But if you're not a half size, if you're like a size 10, you should be good to go going a size 10. However, it might be a little bit snug because I wish it was a little bit wider here at the tip of the toe. You know what I mean? It definitely does narrow down here at the tip of the toe, which makes it kind of restrictive, you know what I mean? And I feel like with a recovery slide, wouldn't you want it to be a little bit more wide, you know? So a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more roomy, you know? So if that's the case, then don't go true to size, probably go up a full size, you know what I mean? So yeah, wrapping things up, this slide is okay. You know what I mean? Again, for me, in my personal opinion, for my slides, I like to have a very, very soft underfoot cushion, which this slide does not have. However, like I said, you know, if you're looking for something a little bit stiffer but still kind of comfortable, because I do know people that don't like to have an extremely soft footbed, then this is a great option, especially for the price. It's only $45. It also looks pretty dang good. Probably stay away from this color though. You know, it's just kind of like sand, cream color, and it does get pretty dang dirty. You know, it does scuff up pretty easily. I don't know if it's coming out on camera, but yeah, there's a lot of black like marks on it. So anyways, that about concludes my review of the New Balance Fresh Foam Recovery Slide. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave in the feeling in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.